business is said. Good morning, Daytona Beach. How are you guys this morning? Welcome to Million Cups Daytona Beach. Thank you so much for putting up with the weather. We had that custom ordered for you today, so I hope you like it. A lot of new faces in the room. If you first time at Million Cups, can you raise your hand? Anybody? Come on. Like you mean it. There we go. Thanks for joining us, guys. This is a weekly entrepreneurial networking event. It happens in 160 plus cities across the country every Wednesday. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being with us. We're very excited to have a wonderful speaker here this morning to kick off the year right. I am Tyler LeCompte. I'm one of the organizers. If you're an organizer, raise your hand so everybody knows who you are. Say hi. Thank you. 100% volunteers, and these guys are awesome. If you have any questions about the group, if you'd like to present, if you'd like somebody else to present, feel free to ask any one of us. We'll help you get started. With that, today we're going to have Chris Bowler, who's the COO and part owner of Daytona Beverages, the beverage distributor here in town. He is, since 2004, he's been with the company. He's been working to increase their revenues through a range of things that he's done. Grown it from 45 to about 90, I heard, which is awesome. Grown the company to over 100 employees and have built out 50,000 square foot plus facility. So you got nothing left to talk about. Sorry about that. Well, I'll let him tell his story and share what he's been able to do, and look forward to that. So Chris Bowler.
All right, so I always like to start every meeting I do with my team. I need my hands, so that's why I'm keeping you up here. So everyone been to a baseball game, a football game, and there's that crazy guy out in left field, right? You know, that stupid guy that kind of does this. He starts clapping really slow. And then everyone starts clapping with him, and it gets a little faster. I call it the slow clap. So if you indulge me, we're going to do a quick slow clap. The reason why I do that is very simple. I always do it with my team, and try that if someone starts clapping a lot faster at the beginning, or someone's slower, and a whole bunch of people just clap as fast as they can. Guess what? It sounds terrible, right? But if everyone does it at the same pace, in the same unison, what do you have? You have a team event. You have something in unison, something to get things going. Plus, it helps with getting blood flow going. So thank you guys for having me here. Tyler gave a little introduction. I'll give you a quick 5 minutes. I'll probably get out of some of the lights here. But originally I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up there most of my life. Yeah, go Redbirds. And then moved to Dallas for a quick short year when I was a sophomore in high school. And then made my way back to St. Louis. So if you've ever had an interesting experience, your dad taps you on the shoulder, said you can't tell anyone you're moving back to St. Louis. Next thing you know, I was on a private jet from AB, flew back to St. Louis and started in my old school the next day when the principal didn't even know I was coming in. So that was an awkward conversation where I had to convince my principal to let me come back to my old high school. So you grew up real quick, I guess, under Papa Bowler. I traveled and made my way into Boston and then into New York, and then got a fateful call to come down here to Daytona Beach. And I'm always proud to say that, pardon my language here, but I was scared poopless when I was told I'd moved from New York City to Daytona Beach. What am I doing? And I can tell you I'm more happy than I've ever been to be in this community and love living down here in Daytona Beach. I've never seen it. One of the things that defines me, and I always put this up in any presentation I give you, is this was my 4th grade experience. So one of my good friends, unfortunately, decided to play with a gas can. And he poured out a little gas on a fire, didn't realize that vapors will catch on fire. He blew up his entire house. Every single window of his house was blown out. He had 99% burns on his body and was given a 0.1% chance of living. That guy now is this guy up here. So he's one of the national leading speaker series, runs a company called Rising Above, has a fantastic wife up there named Beth, has now 4 children. That was back when I was skinny. That's the reason I used that picture. I was good looking back then. And it's just an inspiration, right? So I always challenge myself, and he challenges me all the time when we talk about business. And he asks the question, why me? A lot of people ask that question, right? Why is me? Why did my business go out of business? Why me? Why did I get cancer? Why did I get this? Why did I break my arm? Why me? And you always challenge you, say, why me? Why did I get that to happen to me? Who am I going to tell about this bad business experience? Who am I going to tell about this great business experience? But everyone focuses on the negative. How do you take negatives and turn them into positives? So, through my inspiration of what I do, I always start off with that. And when I start from that, it makes everything you do. Working till midnight isn't so hard, right? Driving to be a better family person isn't so hard. So I challenge everyone in this room before I get into the presentation. Why me? Why when something bad happens, how do you turn that around and make it positive? So, as I mentioned, went to Boston College. It's not that exciting, but this is really where I got my entrepreneurial start. So this guy, Steve Bernard, I call him my surrogate father. He was best friends with my dad. My dad went up and bought their company when my dad was running Eagle Snacks. And he became a lifetime family friend and one person I consider to be a great mentor. They literally had a handshake deal. He refused to sign a contract with a multi-billion-dollar company in Anheuser-Busch. He goes, that's not the way I operate. He started a potato chip company, which I'm sure you guys all see on the shelves, called Cape Cod Potato Chips. That all started because he went out to Hawaii, started eating some of the kettle chips, and he goes, I'm going to do this in Cape Cod. So he starts it with his great wife, Lynn Bernard, and they start this, and they're going, and they're losing money, and life is terrible. And some drunk driver decided to drive right through the front door in Chatham, Massachusetts, and they're going to get an insurance check and be able to get out with like nothing happened, right? So what does he do? Does he take the money-losing business making potato chips? He looks at his wife and he goes, wow, we have all this money, we can open up a plant now and really go big. So he took the check and he opened up a plant. I was lucky enough to work with it. He sold it to my dad. As it turns out, when Eagle Snacks was shut down from Anheuser-Busch, he bought it back. He then sold it to Wise. So you talk about an entrepreneur spirit. This guy is one of my leading principles that he would start anything. Talk about Chatham Village croutons. He started that. Late July potato chips, the organic chips. He started that. So I'm sure in this room there's about 18 million serial entrepreneurs and where everyone, what am I going to do next? Once you get done with one thing, what's the next thing? What's the drive? So, entrepreneurial spirit is kind of in the blood and what we love to do at Daytona Beverages. So my mentor, I always encourage people when they talk and they look is, what can I do for other people? Well, the first thing you can do is be a mentor. There isn't one successful person that you'll meet that didn't have someone that took them along their way. Whether it's corporate America, I was in corporate America at Lucent Technologies before, I went to PwC, and this guy changed my life. He took me into meetings that I shouldn't have been in. He gave me $20 to iron my clothes and take my dry cleaners because he told me I looked terrible. But he was that guy for me. He taught me way more than I deserved to learn. But, it doesn't need to be in corporate America. It could be around this room. And, I'm impressed with how many people came out in this rain. I don't know if I would have rolled over bed to been here. So thank you guys all for coming out. So what about us and what we do? Got involved right away when I moved to town. I was lucky enough to meet Michael Benedict, Tyler, my lovely wife Maya here through the Young Professionals Group and get involved and lead that organization. Went on to lead the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I'm glad to see where that organization and what they're doing for our community. And really, always having a sense of community involvement. So my dad has a line, too much is given, much is expected. So we want to be a part of the fabric because ultimately if this community does well, we'll do well, and everyone else in this room. This is what everyone thinks I do. I hang out with NASCARs, horses, Clydesdales, and if I was really bad, I'd put like a whole bunch of promo pictures with Bud Girls up there. We call them Bud Ambassadors now. It's not appropriate to call them Bud Girls anymore. But we don't do this very often. We do this one time a year during speed weeks, and quite frankly, God darn it, why do I have to go out and do this? What we do is this. That's our warehouse. So we have 80,000 square feet of refrigerated space that we hopefully keep as pristine, clean as possible. So we have 130 plus employees at Daytona Beverages. We have 60 different suppliers. So when I started in 2004, we had one. And the line I always use is I played more golf and I fished more when I worked out in Manhattan than I do in Daytona Beach, which doesn't make sense to me. So it tells you how good of a salesman my dad is. Like I mentioned, we have 84,000 square feet of refrigerated space in there. We do about 92 million of revenue. But the biggest line that we have is we don't make any of that product in there. So all that beer you see up there, all I did was take a truck, it backed up in my warehouse, and took it off, and I'm going to repackage it. But we make one thing. We make people. And people is the most important thing, I guarantee, in everyone's business. There isn't one thing, one successful entrepreneur, one successful Fortune 500 person that doesn't start with people. And that's what we focus on day in and day out of what we do at Daytona. So starting with people, we have a line. We focus on talents and skills. So talents can't be taught. You look at some of this art in the room, you can give me about 3 years to try to draw that or paint that. It's not going to happen. I'm the guy that got 790 on math and the SAT and 400 on verbal. This is like as lopsided as non-artistic you get here. I like the numbers. But, within people, they have talents that they need to discover. And understanding what those people's talents are the key to ensuring that people can be successful. So everyone's got different talents that you can uncover. Different, some people call them passion points, but really it strikes at what are they innately good at. Some people have God-given hand-eye coordination. It's fantastic. You could be using that person to machine some different things, right? And teach them how to do something like that. Some people just are clumsy hands. They're never going to be that guy that can do a precision weld or something like that. So understanding what people's talents are where you get into this. The skills. You can teach people any amount of skills. But if the talent isn't there, you're never going to get home. You're never going to be able to teach Chris Bowler how to paint that painting. It's not my talent. I'll never have the drive for it. I'll never have the passion for it because I start in a place where I can't do it. Give me a spreadsheet and I'll run blizzards around it. You can teach me how to do debits and credits all day long. You'll teach me how to do a cash flow statement all day long. But when it comes to the artistic things or writing a manuscript, I'm never going to write a book. Someone else can write a book for me and maybe put my name on it, but I'm not going to be the one that sits down to do it. It's never going to happen. So whenever you start with your employees, you've got to start off here and then go into that and find out what talents you can exploit so that they can do well. So we always say put coworkers in positions where they can be successful. So promote people based off their talents we've already talked to. So that's what we focus on here. Ensure that we're giving them the tools. So the worst thing you can do is tell someone, hey, go do this, you're going to do great, Sean. Hey, man, we're going to give you this. And he goes, I need a computer. Ah, no, you don't have that, you don't need it. You set them up for failure. That's the worst thing you can do. Clearly define what the expectations are. So a lot of times in entrepreneurial lives, and we do it at Daytona Beverages, you'll see here a little bit, is, I'll just go do it. Well, that's not very good. People ultimately like to be led. They like to know whether they're doing what you expect. And we always say that in the best organizations, you can give people more than they can ever possibly do. Some of the best organizations, you give them 10 things with maybe only 6 to 8 that can get done. They'll figure out which are the key critical things to get done. We call it the spaghetti effect, where you have the bowl, drop the spaghetti, and then drop the meatballs. Guess what stays in the bowl? The meatballs. Eat the meatballs first, right? Then figure out where it is. Where that doesn't work is some roles like accounting. Accounting has to get 10 out of 10 done, right? You can't come in and go, hey, where's that cash flow statement? Well, we didn't get that this month. Did you reconcile the bank sheet? No. So understanding which roles you can challenge people that will never be able to get done what they have responsibilities for versus certain roles that have to be done in order for a business to operate. And then we have a culture of job rotation. So as much as everyone wants to stay in the same spot, how do you move people? How do you give them different points of views and different things to look at, so that they can find where their passion points are? And then the best thing that happens anytime you move people in an organization, they have empathy for the other role. People always think someone else's role is super easy until you actually get into that role and figure out, oh wow, I didn't realize what they were doing. So culture. So it starts with people. The only way you get great people is with great culture. So we spend more time on our culture than we do anything else. And our culture is hopefully, to be the best at what we do in the beverage distribution business. We want to be number one. We want to be better than Coke. We want to be better than Barack. We want to be better than Pepsi. Anyone that walks through a back door of a Publix, a Circle K, we want them to say Daytona Beverages is the best service provider. At the most profitable possibility. So that's the caveat, right? We're not going to do everything unless it's profitable for our bottom line. We may lose money because in the long run it's profitable, but having that so employees understand what our culture is. But, every successful organization, I don't think you talk to any CEO, you talk to Home Depot, all these guys, culture. Why is that guy always on a plane hitting stores? It's not because he's the smartest guy in the room. It's because he's driving the culture. Sam Walton was in the store all the time. He's the one that would start off every single morning with that Walmart cheer. I don't do that. I don't do a Daytona Beverages cheer. But you walk into Walmart to this day, every morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, you'll hear him go, give me a W. And they actually do the squiggly too. So that's the Sam Walton culture. The culture will drive all the way through it. So who's your ambassador of culture? I challenge everyone, you got to figure out who it is. For us, it's my dad, it's myself, and John Ufot, who are 3 owners. Cascades really easy down to our next level, our VPs. But you got to figure out where within your organization your culture lies. You can drill it down. There can be different ambassadors of culture, but they better have the passion in the belly for the organization. It's always okay for there to be an absentee owner, as long as there's someone else who acts like the owner. Who is there all the time, who does drive it through, who creates the culture within it. The farther you go down, you can't say, hey, we got this manager, Maya, let's let her be the culture ambassador. It's not going to work. Culture tends to start at the top. So whoever's at the top really needs to drive that through. So what is your culture? And, there isn't one that fits, right? That ultimately becomes within the organization. I would even say within our organization, the 15 years I've been there, it's changed. As millennials have come up, we've had to change our culture. So I think every employee almost works 60 hours when I started. It's just nonstop, and that's what we did. It's high pay, lots of hours. Now as time has gone and people want a little more time off, you have to rebalance it. So what is your culture and what's going to drive to make sure that you're successful? That's a good question. And then the key is, how does everyone bleed the same? If you have a culture and you think this is the culture, and then Tyler thinks the culture is this, and I'm going to drive that, it ain't working. So how do you drive into what it is that you want everyone to believe in and get up every single day and know exactly what it is? People talk about mission statements and this statement. The reason why you talk about a mission statement is just to get to this. That's your whole point of your vision and your mission statement, is to get the culture within the people. So get down into that layer and drive within that. And then this is the hard part. How do you get rid of the person who doesn't fit the culture? Someone's got to be the bad guy, right? And this is probably the most important thing to a great, successful organization. Jack Welch always had his 10% model. Get rid of the bottom 10% every single year. A little easier to say when you're a Fortune 500 company versus a company of 10. And you go, well, I like Susie. Susie's got 4 kids. Susie's got school. Susie's got that. But the one thing that we will never stop at is if you do not fit the culture of our company, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're not part of this. And most times, guess what? When you tell people that, hey, I don't think this culture fits, we need to find something else for you to do, they go, yeah, I agree. Almost 100% of the times, every single person goes, yeah, this isn't really for me. Because they realize when you have a strong culture, the employee goes, yeah, what can we do to transition? And, you made me nervous walking into the meeting. But I actually, it's been 100% of the times, any time that people have moved for culture, that they go, yeah, that's right. You take care of your employees, but, it's more important to the other 9 that you make sure that that person isn't there, the old bad apple. So, how do we run our culture? My wife knows I'm there every holiday. So there will never ever be such a thing as a July 4th, my competitor's good friend, hey, let's go to the race, let's do this. He knows I'm never there. It's just our cultures, we're there. Which means more to the 130 employees that, you don't see someone else do it. Passion to win at retail, I mentioned profitably. So you can't just say, hey, let's win at all costs if you're not going to spend the money to win at all costs, right? So you got to define what your culture is, within a manner that the business makes sense. And then family environment. So the thing I'm probably most proud of is I just had an employee in yesterday, and he's moving to Jacksonville, he's having a kid, and I'm sending out emails to people trying to get him a job. And I'm telling them, hey, why don't you work here through it, because you can take off from my company, you're not going to be able to take off from the new one. I get really, really excited when employees come in and they say, hey, Chris, I just got this job, and I'm going to make 20% more. And I know it's a good thing. Because what would you do if that was your kid? You'd be excited, right? So you can't call a family company if you're not excited if someone leaves your company to go do something great. Don't covet employees. If you create that environment, guess what they're going to do? 2-3 months out, they're going to, hey, I'm thinking about leaving. Okay, well, let's work on that. Well, there'll always be people that leave with no notice, the screwballs. It happens all the time. But I would say we probably cut 50% out of that by encouraging people to do great things for themselves. And then holding ourselves to a professional atmosphere. So we're a beer company. We like to have fun. I think we've taken a lot of the fun out of it by adding 60 suppliers. We've overcomplicated how to sell a case of beer. It's unbelievable. But we're still fun, right? But you still need to be professional. People love reviews. People want to have a job description. People want to know how they're doing. So as much as, everyone can say, hey, we're entrepreneurs, we play foosball, we have beers, everyone's good. I guarantee if you interview every single one of those people, I really would actually like a professional review. Everyone wants one, right? I didn't like it when my dad gives me a review, Hey, Dad, how am I doing? Everyone wants to know where they stand and what's going on. And then open communications. It's easy to say we have an open door policy, but it truly is an open communication. Call me anytime. Call me about your family problems. Call me whatever it is. A true open communication policy. I don't like to work here anymore. Okay, I'll find you a new job. I know some people in town, Or is there another job within the company? So truly fostering an open communication. It takes work on the employee side, right? You need to hold those people accountable. To do great things while they're still there. But create a culture where people feel comfortable talking to you. So the only way you can really do this is we do a survey. So we do a survey twice a year where if you believe in your culture, you want the feedback on whether you're doing it, right? So, we do it twice. We used to do it 3 times a year. We find that 2 times a year. But we survey them on everything. We survey them on the printers, the computers, whether they like working for me, whether they like working for managers, talking. So it's about as extensive of a survey as it comes. But the key to it is we have to share it. So if someone says your pay sucks, guess what? We put a big sign up there. We stand up in front of everyone and go, hey, you guys all think your pay sucks. And then we tell them, hey, by the way, everyone thinks their pay sucks. I haven't met one person doesn't think. Anyone here think they get paid way too much? Waiting. Still, I've never gotten one person to raise their hand and says, oh yeah, I get paid way too much money. No one feels that way, right? Baseball players, they get paid $10 million a year, like, no, I need 12. What do you need the 12 for? You're hitting a baseball. So, everyone's always going to, anytime you do surveys, pay's always going to be low, right? Because everyone's going to think they deserve to be paid. But sharing that, telling them where they are, how are our benefits. And then ultimately, I'll tell you this, our most important question that we answer, so each department does about 20 to 30 questions. And the last one is Daytona Beverages a good place to work? We focus on that one question. We look at everything else, but if someone says, my pay is at 2.8, and this is actually true score, if my pay is at 2.8, and they say Daytona Beverages is a good place to work or 4.4, you know you've done some right thing, right? You know, I like coming to work here. I want to get paid more. Everyone does. You know, but really driving the company. So we drive our entire company based off this survey. Make changes all the time based off of where, you know, the employees come back and tell us where we need to drive the company. And then action plans. So it's kind of what I was talking about, how we drive it. So once again, you survey someone, you better tell them what the survey results are. So, by the way, most people don't do that. That's step one. But then what are you going to do about it? No one wants to be the guy that always asks the questions, hey, come in and tell me your problems. You know, nothing happens. Why would I come in and talk to Chris unless he's actually going to make some changes? So having clear defined action plans goes a long way. So, you know, the old line, go where the puck is going, not where the puck is. You know, Wayne Gretzky. You know, may not fit in Florida, but we love to use it. So we challenge ourselves all the time. So, like I said earlier, you know, when I started with the company, we had one supplier. My dad worked for Anheuser-Busch. He's never worked for anyone else but Anheuser-Busch or Daytona Beverages. So literally the day he left college, he started selling beer for Budweiser. So when I came down, about a year into it, I go, Dad, we have no craft beer. I mean, there's literally no craft beer in our house. I'm coming from New York and Boston where you didn't see a tap with Bud. I mean, I came down here, we had Bud Light, Amber Bock, we had Mick Light still on tap, we had Natural Light on tap, Miller had Coors Light, they had like Killian's, Miller Light. And I'm like, what is going on? By the way, if you go out to any place now, you don't see that, right? And I go, we need to expand and you know, go into different marketplaces and pick up some craft brands. As first lines, we need focus. Don't worry about that stuff. It only took about 6 months, you know, and going out and partnering with different companies that line changed very quickly on who we partner with next. You know, so there's always a balance as you look and people talk about, hey, yeah, we're always looking to be where we need to be in 5 years. There's never a bad idea on where we need to be in 5 years. Never. You know, in the room, you got to put them all up there because this employee may have a different idea than that employee, but over time with consensus, you'll figure out where the puck is going. Don't let one person try to override it. I always say with youth, there's energy, right? So I came down with energy. We're going to take over the craft beer market and have all these different suppliers go from one Anheuser-Busch to where we are today, 60, so I guess it happened. You know, but with experience, you figure out things. So we had a brand name, Monster Energy. So we were selling about 50,000 cases of that. We wanted to invest. We grew at 100%. We're rock and rolling. And good old Papa Bowler, you know, grabbed me on the shoulder and goes, hey, I've seen the contract. You know, he reads all the contracts. He goes, we're not investing a dime into it until it changes. Next thing you know, about a year and a half later, they pulled it from our warehouse. So with youth, it's great. But having a little experience in the room to know real world on where things are going, you got to balance the two. You know, try to figure out where the puck is going. So the one thing I always try to tell people though is this is people's R&D. So if you're not in the tech industry, take 15, 20% of their revenue and put it towards R&D. A lot of other businesses we don't do that, right? You know, we don't actually have an R&D line item. Figure out what your R&D line item is. You know, in real estate, you know, how much are we going to spend to recruit new agents? You know, if it's the chamber getting new members, you know, any business, there should be an R&D line item. And it's not just technology, it's how are we pulling people in to produce results in the next 5 years? Not next year, not the year after. What dollar are we spending today that's not going to be productive until 2 to 3 years? And that should be your R&D line. And of course, as everyone says, technology. I hate it. The internet goes down, my business shuts down. My server goes down, my business shuts down. So, gone are the days of just writing tickets and selling beer. We're all tied to it. Last thing I want to wrap up on here pretty quickly is a focus on yourself. People can't do good unless they really focus on yourself first. And the first thing I always say is everyone says, wow, you need to love your job. Hate it. Hate that line. Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy. Why do you tell people that it's the stupidest line I've ever heard? And I think it's the stupidest line I've ever heard because I go back to those baseball guys. The baseball guy goes and quits playing baseball. They go, why are you stopping? You're 32 years old. And you know what they say? I don't like it anymore. So you don't need to love your job. It's great if you love your job. But everyone's trying to tell all these people, you need to love your job. Most people do not want to go to work. You got to start there, right? It's great if you do. But you got to like your job. So remember that as you talk with yourself or employees, you don't need people that have the Sunday heartburn coming into work on Monday. That's when you don't like your job. And really rephrasing that question that you need to like where you go to work to produce results. And then a passion for excellence. And how do you drive excellence in everything you do? And, for me, it starts back at John O'Leary. I frame myself real quickly on a guy that could have died, could have given up. I can tell you stories about him for 3 hours. He started a construction business. He's got no fingers. He's a home builder. It's stupid, right? Finally he switches to speaking about his experience. I never knew about his experience for 20 years. Never talked about it. So find your passion for excellence. He found his, right? And drive through it, and what do you do? So the last thing to recap is give back to your community. We're all better for it. I'm astonished with how many people are in this room today. Once again, I start with the weather. I'm impressed, that you guys are, investing in this community. So thank you guys for what you guys are doing for Daytona Beach and being part of this 1 million cups. But thank yourself for investing in yourself and coming out and doing this and seeing what you can gain. You probably gain more, not from the presentation, but from the people in this room, and that's fantastic. But how do you give back? How do you give just a little bit back to any organization? Us at Daytona Beverages, we're laser focused on the Boys and Girls Club. It's a great organization that we've raised over $2 million for. We believe that it's our passion point, but we do a ton of different other charities. But if we can do anything, give $1, we'll do that. And then the other things that I talk about is the difference in between the voter and the non-voter. You don't vote, don't complain. And then which one are you? Are you the chicken? Or are you the pig? So in ham and eggs, the chicken's involved, the pig's committed. So I always tell people, be the pig. If you're going to go be part of any of these charity organizations, don't be the person that just sits on the board to go to another meeting. Quite frankly, you're wasting your time, you're wasting the community's time. Play an active role. You don't need to sit on the board for 10 years. Sit on it for 5, make an impact, roll off, go do something else, take 5 years off. But be the pig. If everyone's the pig, things are a lot more productive, and our community will be a better place. So in summary, all great organizations start with people. That's the way we believe about ours. How do we drive to do great things, through people? Create a culture that's sustainable. So some of the issues that people that I've seen have is, wow, I can work 20 hours a day, this is great, and they do it for 5 years, and the next thing you know, they burn themselves out. That culture is not sustainable, right? You may need to do it, but what is your long-term culture that the company can survive with for the next 5 to 10 years? And then work your network. The network is more valuable than anyone knows. So I'm sure you guys have heard speeches left and right about who's your personal accountability holder, who's going to challenge your business, who's your quote-unquote board of directors. It's a fabulous idea for small entrepreneur businesses to have 3 to 4 people that they call their board of directors. And that you have to meet with twice a year. Show them your financials. Show them what you're doing. Have them challenge you on whether you're doing the right things, and your business will be a lot more successful. And then define what makes you happy. Ultimately, you can't be half pregnant. You can't, right? Pig, right? We want to be the pigs. It doesn't mean you have to be the pig if you don't want to be the pig. People that are CEOs, most of them tend to be divorced, right? They gave their whole life,
give their whole career and everything to it, and define what you want to be. But don't choose to be this if it's going to take that. So understanding where you stand, within that lifestyle is an important perspective thing to do. I'll tell you, I'm terrible at it. I say yes to a whole bunch of things that I'm trying to get better to say no. But we all need to challenge ourselves to say, where's our happy medium? Where do we want to go? And if it is being CEO, that's great. Let's be transparent about it and know what the sacrifices are. So I always end on this because who doesn't love a horse laying down, right? So that's this is once again what I get to do is just hang out with horses and pet them when they're laying down, nice Clydesdale, so it's a nice happy picture at the end. But we love our Clydesdale. So. But really, it's now open for any questions.
All right, good job, Chris. What do you guys think? Yeah. Wow. Awesome. All right, so now's the Q&A portion of the meeting. If you have a question, raise your hand, stand up, introduce yourself, and